A shocking discovery inside Clarence House has surprised the entire royal family. Workers found a hidden area behind Queen Camilla's bedroom wall during a routine renovation. What they uncovered was unexpected and caused a stir throughout the palace. This revelation included mysterious objects and personal secrets, raising troubling questions about Camilla's private past and her place in the monarchy. Why had it been hidden for so long? What does it mean for the royals now? The routine inspection that turned shocking. A routine inspection was taking place at Buckingham Palace. Teams from internal security were checking the structures to ensure that the oldest parts of the palace were safe and well maintained. Normally, this kind of work happens quietly, with technicians measuring cracks and inspectors checking for dampness. It usually doesn't attract much attention. However, something unusual happened in Queen Camilla's private suite. The elegant and private bedroom was scheduled for inspection. The team found an oddity on one of the interior walls, a slight irregularity behind an ornate tapestry that didn't match the wall's design. At first, they thought it was harmless, a settling in old buildings. One inspector noted, "No other building combines being a family home with being the office of the head of state." But when they tested the wall, the readings were strange. It wasn't as solid as expected. There seemed to be a space behind it that wasn't indicated in the blueprints. They quickly reported this to senior palace security. The mood in the room changed. This was not a normal discovery. This was something hidden intentionally. The inspectors carefully pulled back the tapestry and found what looked like a sealed entry point. Dust thickened at the seams, indicating it hadn't been touched in many years. Even the experienced team members felt the tension. What started as a simple check became a series of questions. What was behind the wall? Who sealed it? And why was there no record of it? The decision was made to examine the wall further. As they brought tools closer, everyone sensed this was no longer just a routine inspection. It could reveal more than ancient materials. The real question was whether this hidden wall protected a secret or covered up a scandal. A hidden passage revealed. The sound of tools tapping against the plaster echoed in Camilla's bedroom. Each scrape and cut revealed that the inspectors were not just dealing with a standard wall. Piece by piece, the surface came off, showing a hollow space, something hidden on purpose. Under the polished plaster and decorative trim was a secret panel, its edges sharp and frame strong, like it was meant to stay hidden for many years. This discovery changed the mood in the room. What started as a boring survey now felt like the first chapter of a mystery story unfolding in real life. Palace security allowed the panel to be carefully removed. Every movement was made with great care. Finally, with a reluctant creak, the hidden door opened, releasing a puff of stale, old air. It was the breath of a space without light in decades. Behind it, a flashlight revealed something unexpected. A narrow stone passage covered in dust and cobwebs. The air had a musty smell, and the silence was so intense that even the inspectors paused before entering. The corridor was narrower than a man's shoulders, forcing anyone to move sideways. The construction seemed old, possibly from previously forgotten changes in palace records. Some people said that many royal residences had hidden rooms and secret passages, leftovers from times when kings and queens needed escape routes or private spaces away from servants. But this felt different. It was built less like an escape route and more like a vault, intentionally sealed and forgotten. Palace plans confirmed this oddity. There was no hollow corridor in that part of the building. No records showed extra rooms connected to Camilla's suite. There's a map in the king's gallery above the fireplace. Whoever built it had kept it a secret by not putting it in official documents. The inspection team moved forward step by careful step. Dust fell from the ceiling with each movement, and they heard faint scurrying sounds from hidden insects, adding to the unsettling silence. As they went deeper, it became clear that this was not just a strange structure. The passage had been carefully closed off, but something awaited them at the end. The corridor ended in a small alcove with darker, more worn stone. There, barely lit by the moving flashlights, stood a large, locked chest. It looked aged and oddly out of place. It seemed to have been placed there on purpose, then left to time. The team shared worried looks. What began as a dusty room in a royal bedroom had led them to a forgotten space. As they prepared to examine the chest, one thing was sure. Someone had gone to great lengths to keep it hidden. The chest in the shadows. Inspectors found an old chest covered in dust at the end of a hidden corridor. A flashlight revealed it was heavy and bound with rusty iron, making it seem out of place in the narrow space. The wood was warped, and the hinges were corroded, but the lock was still intact, indicating it had been sealed off on purpose. The inspectors hesitated, unsure about what to do next. Soon, palace security arrived and documented the find with photographs and measurements. The room felt tense. The chest appeared carefully placed, facing the alcove and untouched for decades. Initial attempts to force it open failed, as if it didn't want to be disturbed. Some officers suggested moving it to a secure place for further examination, while others argued it should be opened right there to limit who knew about it. After discussing their options, they decided to proceed with caution. They brought in tools, and after a tense wait, the lock finally cracked open with a loud snap. Everyone held their breath as the senior officer ordered the lid to be lifted. When they opened the chest, they found not treasure but layers of old parchment and aged leather. This discovery felt important, suggesting that the past had been intentionally locked away. The silence deepened in the room, and many wondered what secrets the contents held. The revelations were beginning. Contents that defied expectation. When the chest opened, the team leaned in, ready for outdated inventories or discarded items. Instead, they found bundles of letters tied with faded ribbons, stacks of aged parchment, and leather-bound journals that felt very personal. These items seemed carefully arranged, as if someone had intentionally preserved them. The delicate paper had a faint smell of aging ink, creating a haunting feeling, like they intruded on someone's private thoughts. The inspectors moved carefully, realizing their find might go beyond their official job. Wearing white gloves, they documented each item. The first letters showed delicate handwriting on unopened envelopes. One journal had familiar writing from royal history, private notes not meant for public eyes. What was odd was where these items were found, hidden behind a bedroom wall in a sealed passage, suggesting a purpose beyond mere neglect. The journals came in different sizes. Some were small and worn, while others were large and crafted to last. Folded pages and unsealed envelopes hinted at hurried notes, raising questions about who hid them and what truths they might hold. This discovery wasn't just about old paper. It was about silenced voices and untold stories, testimony that could challenge the monarchy more than any treasure could. Diana's unheard voice. The atmosphere in the hidden passage changed as the first pages were read. What started as examining a structure became more meaningful. The handwriting was clearly Diana's, with each character reflecting her style from public letters. However, these writings were different. They were raw, honest, and written in places where she thought no one would find them. The entries looked like diary notes, with short phrases and broken thoughts. One entry stated, "In reality, she was chastised by the media and stifled by the conservative royal family." The shadow of Camilla appeared throughout the writing, serving as a reminder of past pain. Another entry expressed a worry. "Sometimes I wonder if my voice will only matter when I am gone." This showed Diana's fear of being forgotten, or reshaped into something easier for others to accept. The reviewers noted that her themes of invisibility and isolation were consistent. She seemed to accept that history might not portray her truthfully. Among the writings were unsent letters, likely meant for family or her young sons. The palace security staff, usually detached, were visibly affected. They handled writings that revealed a voice silenced for years, demanding to be heard. Diana's hidden words confronted truths the palace wanted to keep hidden. The turmoil was beginning. Palace in panic. The mood at Buckingham Palace changed quickly from curiosity to urgency after workers took a chest from a secret passage. What began as a structural inspection uncovered sensitive documents that could have serious consequences. Within hours, officials moved the discovery to a secure archive room, but news got out faster than they could manage. In private meetings, senior advisors felt panic. The monarchy had dealt with crises before, but this was different. Diana's personal words were found hidden in Camilla's bedroom wall, threatening decades of trust. Advisors debated intensely. Some argued for immediate disclosure to avoid suspicion, while others insisted on complete secrecy to prevent reopening old wounds. King Charles appeared visibly stressed. The news affected him personally and as a leader. His primary concern was his sons. How would William and Harry react? The security staff involved were sworn to secrecy, but keeping quiet was difficult. Rumors spread about who hid Diana's writings and why. Questions arose. Was the chest lost after Diana's death, or was it hidden on purpose to keep the writings from public view and her sons? The press office remained quiet, which allowed the media to create their own stories. What started as a hidden chest evolved into a test of transparency and loyalty for the monarchy. The palace's worry focused not on the discovery, but on the possible fallout from exposing Diana's truths. Would silence protect the crown, or could it actually destroy it? William and Harry's painful awakening. When Diana's sons learned about the discovery, it did not come from official palace channels. Instead, they received bits of information, a quick message here, a soft word there, until they faced the undeniable truth. Their mother's private words, hidden for years, had been found behind a wall in Camilla's bedroom. For Prince William, this news felt very personal. Diana's memory was his legacy and a key part of his public role. Every step toward the throne included her influence, and now her voice had returned in a way that honored her but also reopened old wounds. Those journals weren't just history, he told his aides. They were parts of my mother that were kept hidden. The thought they were concealed in Camilla's room felt like an intrusion on her legacy. Prince Harry reacted similarly, but with more anger. His distance from the royal family allowed him to speak up, and this discovery confirmed his belief that too much of their mother's story had been controlled or hidden. He insisted that Diana's writings belonged to her family, not royal secrets. The brothers had different reactions, but they shared the same pain. William leaned toward caution, wary of public scrutiny, while Harry wanted immediate action. Their private talks were emotional and brought up old tensions between them. The palace hoped to handle this quietly, but William and Harry made that impossible. This issue was no longer about royal image, but a mother's voice demanding attention. For William and Harry, this awakening was painful but also a reminder. Their mother's truth had survived in secrecy, and now found its way back to them. Camilla's silence and anger. When Camilla found out about the discovery, she reacted quickly and in disbelief. Those present saw her confusion turn into anger. She wanted to know who allowed the inspection, why her private suite was scoured, and how sensitive items were found without her knowing. Her aides tried to calm her by saying the inspection was routine, but she was furious, not just at the intrusion, but at what it implied. Discovering Diana's personal writings in her space was significant, as if history had invaded her life. Outwardly, Camilla chose to remain silent and did not make any public statements. Inside the palace, her anger was apparent. She blamed her staff for incompetence or betrayal, thinking someone might have planned to humiliate her. The thought of Diana's voice coming back in her private space was more than inconvenient. It threatened to undo years of careful image building. Charles wanted to handle the situation quietly, while Camilla felt the need to be defensive and regain control. Control that seemed to slip away with each whisper about what was found. Advisors discussed whether she should address the issue publicly, but she said no, believing denial would only increase speculation. Her silence looked evasive to the public and seemed like fear to those close to her. According to those near her, what upset her the most was not the discovery itself, but the story it could create. That Diana's presence still affected her even during her reign. The past had intruded into her safe space again. Camilla's silence was not strength. It showed someone trapped by ghosts she could never completely escape. A legacy that refuses to stay buried. The chest's discovery uncovered more than forgotten journals. It broke decades of silence. Diana's voice, once thought lost, returned raw and powerful. Her writings expressed feelings of invisibility and longing, revealing the truth behind her public smile. The journals created a bittersweet connection to their mother for Prince William and Prince Harry. They showed aspects of her life they had not known. The hidden pages raised difficult questions. Why were they kept secret, especially in Camilla's private space? Camilla's situation became more complicated. She was seen as the keeper of Diana's hidden truth, increasing tension at Buckingham Palace. The monarchy, which relies on control, now faced a force it could not ignore. Diana's voice, too strong to hide. Her presence returned not just as a memory, but as a voice that cannot be silenced. What does this mean for Camilla and the monarchy? Can they silence Diana's voice again? Share your thoughts.